Good morning, everyone. Happy Sunday. I said I wasn't going to do a video to Monday. I was going to leave everything to Monday and do a roundup of all the weekend's action on Monday. But I thought we needed to talk about Joe Joyce. So he made his comeback last night on Frank Warren's Queensberry's Magnificent Seven show against Cash Ali. A Cash Ali, who I think has only fought once or twice in 2 years, I believe. And he got a final round stoppage against Cash Ali, which on the surface of it, you think, all right, but we all expected him to beat Cash Ali easy in that, didn't we? And the first thing I think we should talk about is why do Joe Joyce and his team at this stage in his career don't seem to know what kind of weight suits him best? Because I think he was 20 stone, 6 pound in this fight. I believe it was a career heaviest. I might be wrong. Now, when he fought Zhilei Zhang the first time and he came in quite, I think was he around 18 stone for the first Zhilei Zhang fight. There was some absolutely silly claims that he was affected by weight. And some people, even professional pundits, were making the case for the reason for the defeat was the fact that he was weight drained, which was absolute nonsense. Then he came in for the second fight heavier and got knocked out more brutally and stopped again. Now, I'm not going to go over old ground because I said for a long time, go back as far as you like. I always said, people like to think that when you critique a fighter on their negatives, that it's coming from a place of hate. That's never my stance when I critique any fighter. My evaluation is purely objective. I like Joe Joyce. He's a lovely guy. And I, for one, certainly didn't enjoy seeing him getting brutally beat up and stopped in the second Zhang fight. But we have to be honest and we have to be objective. I said for a long time, Joe Joyce was an accident waiting to happen. And I'm not going to go over these reasons really because I've gone over them many, many, many times before. But it was remarked in commentary a lot by Richie Woodall and whoever else was commentating on that. But there was marked in commentary that Joe Joyce was always open to the overhand right. Now, when anyone talked about Joe Joyce's career, the most defining feature of Joe Joyce and his best asset was always basically the fact that he got hit well and took a good shot. Now, it would only become recognizable that you have such a good chin and get hit so well and take a shot so well because we see many, many examples of it, meaning that you get hit a lot, essentially. And the reason why he gets hit a lot and the reason why he's open to the overhand right and the hooks and the straight, to be honest, any offensive shot is this. Joe Joyce predominantly only holds his hands in one position or one distance from his face, and that's about 3/4 of a foot away from his face. Do you know what I'm saying? And it's in front, and he's got a wide stance with his hands. His hands are not. It's not like almost a peekaboo where the gloves would be up. They're open and they're away from the face, meaning that anything that coming over the top is going to dip over your two gloves at the last minute and hit you straight on. Hooks are going to creep round the side and round the back, and the straight shots are going to creep through the middle. If you mix this with the fact that Joe Joyce pretty much only comes forward, meaning that if the opponent isn't going backward, or even if he is going back, but certainly if he holds his feet and comes forward, Joe Joyce will get hit with everything, and Joe Joyce gets hit with everything. Cash had a certain amount of success and hit him kind of, at will. And the fact that, and the other reason where Joyce struggles, and Joyce does hit hard, but if you're not very inventive and you're quite crude and slow and cumbersome and just walk forward in straight lines throwing your attacks, if your opponent is constantly on the bike, as Cash was, even if you do punch hard enough, the fact that he's moving backwards the majority or predominantly most of the time means the power in your shots are just not going to have the effect with a guy that is constantly on the back foot. When I always said Joe Joyce was an accident waiting to happen, and I don't believe Joyce will ever be an elite level heavyweight, people will say, but he beat Joseph Parker. But because of the attributes that Joe Joyce has, and because of some of what I believe, who am I, but some of the reasons where I believe Joe Joyce doesn't maximize Joseph Parker doesn't maximize his potential is that Joseph Parker is better when he's lighter and offers more movement. I said against Zhilei Zhang that I thought he could have made that fight easier had he presented Zhang with more movement, more lateral movement, more in and out movement, and more head movement. Essentially, Joseph Parker kind of found himself on the floor the two occasions because he just stood straight in front of Zhang. Now, Joe Joyce kind of stopped Joe Parker because Joe Parker, he did come forward, and Joe Parker is one of the bravest heavyweights out there. I have the utmost respect in the world for Joseph Parker. I think some people think that I'm not a Joseph Parker fan. I just pick up on what I perceive to be as his shortcomings in that his hand speed and his foot speed when he's lighter is one of his greatest attributes, and they don't make the most of it. And he came in heavy against Joyce. So again, he didn't make the most of his attributes, which for me are foot speed and hand speed. In that he was, and again, Joseph Parker for me doesn't offer him enough lateral movement or enough head movement. He's kind of there to be hit. And that's where he paid the price. You got to remember, against Joe Joyce, he was the significantly smaller and lighter guy. And Joseph Parker is a good puncher, but he's not. You wouldn't call Joseph Parker a heavyweight puncher, not at all, would you? Especially against the big guys. So, in a sense, the way Joseph Parker approached that fight and the way he didn't make use of his best attributes kind of played into the hands of Joyce and gave Joyce, I believe, on basic level of talent, Joe Joyce is nowhere near Joe Parker in boxing ability or even IQ. I think Joseph Parker is far better. But on that night, Joe Parker didn't help himself and kind of helped Joe Joyce. But even so, Joyce didn't get rid of him till, I can't remember, it was late, 10, 11, 12, I think it was 11 maybe, was it? But yeah, so when the Joe Parker, argument is leveled, I kind of think you have to, again, this is a sport of nuance, so you have to look at the fine details as to why fighter A beats fighter B. But yeah, going back to Joe Joyce, like I said, I didn't ever see him being good enough to be an elite. I've said that many times. I always said Joe Joyce was an accident waiting to happen. I've said that for a long time and many, many times, and I wasn't surprised that he got beat by Zhilei Zhang at all. And I also said, well, if we move the argument onto Zhilei Zhang, I don't believe he's elite either. I just think out of those two, he hit harder. And as Joe Joyce is so easy to hit, if Joe Joyce is in there with another 20-stone guy that bangs, at some point, you're going to detonate one on the chin. And everyone's human and you will fall. And he did. But Joe Joyce, where does he go? I don't really believe he goes anywhere. As I said after the Zhilei Zhang fight, everyone else has now seen Joe Joyce's level, the level which I believed was evident way before that fight anyway. But it was kind of disturbing. The lack of inventiveness, the lack of hand speed, just the mobile problems. And when we look at the weight, there was at least 2 or 3 occasions where Joe Joyce threw a shot and the shot missed. And his body position and his foot position was so bad, and combined that with the weight, the momentum of the shot nearly threw Joyce over and almost sent him across the ring under the momentum of his own punch. Cash Ali's been active. He's a lot smaller guy. He's a lot punchier. And he still lasted till round 10. Was round 10? Was it that final round? Regardless. But yeah, Joe Joyce, not a good display. And I kind of feel for Joe Joyce. I never thought Queensbury, and maybe Queensbury knew to a degree. They always favoured Daniel Dubois, didn't they? That was kind of evident. And I think I said on G-Man's Live, and we all agree on this, myself, Joe Stone and G-Man, that they were almost begrudgingly bringing Joe Joyce along rather than because they really wanted to. That's how it always seemed. But yeah, Joe Joyce, not a good display, unfortunately. And like I said, this is not me coming from an angle of I don't like Joe Joyce, because I do. Everyone likes Joe Joyce. He's a lovely guy. But when all the shortcomings of your ability don't ever seem to be worked on, and when you can't get to the point at nearly 40 years old and you don't really know what weight you want to be or what weight is effective for you, but you think coming in at 20 stone plus is going to aid to you on a comeback, there's something really wrong, isn't there? There's something really wrong. But I just thought we needed to speak about Joe Joyce today because, like I said, on the Magnificent Seven card, I do believe most eyes would have been on Joe Joyce. So that's why I've done this video. But yeah, let me know what you think. Just my thoughts on Joe Joyce this morning. Hope you all have a wonderful Sunday, and I will see you all soon.